Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a powerful guide for U.S. businesses that are looking to connect with one of the world's most dynamic economic frontiers, Africa. We're going to cover the massive opportunity, some of the hidden challenges, and a really clear strategy to get you started. But this isn't just about profits and losses. At its heart, this whole conversation is framed by a really powerful question. What if entering this market could also be a path to global Black economic empowerment? It's a huge idea, so just keep that in the back of your mind as we get into the details. So first things first, let's talk about the business case. Because to really get the opportunity here, you have to understand the sheer scale. And honestly, the numbers are just staggering. It all starts with the people. Think about this. Africa is home to over 1.4 billion people. And that number, it's on track to double by 2050. Now, that's not just a statistic, that is a massive, youthful, and rapidly growing consumer base. And that consumer base is fueling a seriously powerful economy. The continent's 54 countries have a collective GDP of over $3 trillion. We're talking about some of the fastest growing economies on the entire planet right here. And, that kind of growth, it doesn't go unnoticed. Global investors are paying very close attention. Just in the last year, over $52 billion in foreign direct investment poured into the continent. That's funding everything from tech startups in Kenya to huge infrastructure projects in Senegal. Okay, so the numbers paint a really clear picture of opportunity, right? But success isn't just about crunching the numbers. There's a sort of hidden hurdle, a cultural bridge that really needs to be built, especially for African American entrepreneurs who are looking to connect. And this is a really critical insight from the source material. You see, even with a shared heritage, the historical experiences of African Americans and African immigrants in the U.S. have shaped very different perspectives, very different priorities. Understanding this disconnect, well, it isn't just a nice to know, it's the absolute foundation for building the trust you need for any successful business partnership. So, acknowledging these psychological barriers, that's not a detour from the business plan. It is the first step of the business plan. It's all about building that foundation of mutual understanding before you even start talking about products or prices. So the big question is, how do you go from just knowing about this gap to actually building a bridge across it? Well, the playbook argues that it all starts with having the right mindset and a really specific set of skills. Because in this market, believe me, a great product by itself just isn't enough. Success in Africa requires way more than just capital. It demands cultural intelligence. Really getting that doing business in Lagos is a whole different world from doing business in Nairobi. It demands adaptability, strong networks, and just plain resilience to navigate what can be a complex, but also an incredibly rewarding environment. Okay, so once you have that mindset locked in, now we can turn to the strategic playbook. How do you take all these ideas and actually forge them into a concrete plan for entering the market? Let's look at the tools you're going to need. The playbook recommends a simple but really powerful tool called the Ansoff matrix. Now, it might sound complicated, but it's not. It just helps you frame your growth strategy by boiling it all down to two key questions. Are you selling the stuff you already have or creating new stuff? And are you targeting your current customers or a whole new market? So the first, and let's be honest, the safest option is what's called market penetration. It's really just a fancy way of saying you're going to sell more of what you already make to your existing customers. This is your baseline, your home turf, before you even think about looking abroad. Next up, you've got market development. Now, this is your first big step onto the continent. You take your existing, proven products and you introduce them to a new market, like, say, launching your U.S. brand in a city like Accra or Kigali. The third option is product development. Here, you're kind of flipping the script. You're creating totally new products, but for your existing market back home. Maybe drawing some inspiration from all the amazing trends and innovations that are coming out of Africa. And finally, we've got the most ambitious path of all, diversification. This is where you launch a brand new product in a brand new African market. It is for sure the highest risk, but it also holds the potential for the absolute highest reward. So once you've picked your strategy, how on earth do you choose your market? The key is not to try and tackle all 54 countries at once. No way. Instead, you follow a really focused 4-step process. Research stable places. Figure out if your product is a good fit. Identify the specific hurdles you'll face, and then make a strategic choice.
Of course, one of the biggest questions is always about funding, right? But this doesn't have to be just a dream. The playbook highlights some really tangible resources, including key U.S. government programs like SBA loans and AGO trade benefits that are designed specifically to help small businesses like yours go global and lower the risk.
Okay, so we've covered the opportunity, the cultural nuances, and the strategic tools. Now it's time to bring it all together and actually launch the plan. This is that moment where all the planning stops and the real journey begins. So, what do those first few steps actually look like on the ground? The playbook lays out a super clear 6-month framework to guide your launch. It's a practical step-by-step process that takes you from setting clear goals and building local partnerships all the way to executing a pilot and, this is crucial, adapting as you learn from your progress. And ultimately, the message is crystal clear. For U.S. entrepreneurs, the African market represents this truly transformative opportunity for growth, for connection, and for empowerment. And, maybe the greatest risk isn't in taking on the journey, but in missing out on the destination altogether.